to your Apex Life and Synergy Conscious Awakening Masterclass. In this class, we are going to unlock your unique superpower, your unique conscious contribution to yourself and to the rest of the world around you. Now, did you watch lesson 1 and send me your homework? No, I wanted to, just before we started, I wanted to share with you one of the email messages that I received. Wait, I need my glasses. Dear Helena, thank you so much for this class. I was trying to figure out what I was creating, and I realized that I have not been creating anything. I realized that I have just been doing the same thing every day. I go to the same job. I eat the same foods. I do the same things. I say the same things. I complain about the same things. I am so excited to find a different way to be. Thank you. Wow. I think that's one of the best emails I've ever gotten. Because this woman was brave enough and bold enough to look at herself with complete honesty and see that she's really not living, that she's just going through each day, creating Disaster Fantasy Island, playing the pattern over and over and over again. Are you doing that? Are you spending all of your time having the same conversations? Remember that pyramid flopping over? Having the same conversations, doing the same things, saying the same things, wearing the same things, going the same way? Do you drive to work the same exact way every day? Have the same conversations with your friends? Have the same conversations with your kids? Argue with your loved ones in the same exact way? We say the same 10 things, hoping that suddenly someday it's going to be different, or that somebody else is going to walk into our life and change it for us. When we're living like this, we're living in this selfish or selfless pattern state. Remember that pyramid. This is when we are flipped. When the whole world feels like it's about to crash down on us at any second. This is the selfish or selfless pattern state. Now, that seems like they're very, very different, but I have to tell you honestly, they are exactly the same. Selfish is about winning. Selfless is about sacrifice. Selfish means, oh, I'm going to win, so somebody else must lose. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to win, but that means somebody else must lose. And what does that lead to? That leads to greed. That leads to corruption. That leads to dishonesty. Because the goal becomes to win. The goal does not become to be my best self. The goal is, how do I beat everybody else? And we see the results of that in our world today. We see that, I think there was just an oil spill at the Galapagos Islands, that people are just willing to keep on pushing more and more. There are cities throughout our world where you cannot see the sky because there is so much pollution. So that we could win, so that we could get ahead, so that we could all have a better life. Now, I'm not saying that we should all move back to the Stone Age and not have the benefits of the positive things that we have created. But when we're in this I win, you lose state, it leads to us always having to be more, to be better, to win more, to do more things. And in order to win all the time, sometimes you have to cheat. But who are you really cheating? Because then you are living in greed and corruption and dishonesty. That's the world that you're occupying. And then that's the world that you're spreading out to the rest of the world. So instead of waking up each day trying to figure out how am I going to live my best life, you're waking up each day thinking, how am I going to win? Oh, and what's the opposite of that? Selfless means that you have to give of yourself in order to lift someone else up. How often do we feel like I cannot do one more thing for somebody else? I'm exhausted. It feels like I have to do for everyone else. It feels like I have to do for my family, do for my boss, do for my kids. It feels like I have to do for my friends. It feels like I'm always giving of myself, like we're about to be consumed. It's the selfless state. And this leads to burnout. This leads to addiction. This leads to constant fear and anxiety. Because when we're in the selfless state, we're waiting for the whole world to crash down on us from the winners. But I have to tell you, both of these things, the selfish and the selfless, they're on the same place. They're up there in Disaster Fantasy Island in what we call the sum zero state. This is life without consciousness, where we're just playing the pattern of I win or I lose all the time. How often are we driving down the street and somebody has to speed up to cut in front of us because they have to get that temporary win, that temporary jolt of adrenaline, that temporary boost to get them going. I'm gonna be on today. Why do you have to be on? You're already you. Just like I said in that email, that woman is living without creation. She's living just in Fantasy Disaster Island, just playing the pattern over again without any forward movement. So we get stuck in this endless pattern. How often do you have the same conversations with your friends, wear the same clothes, or go shopping and buy the same shirt? You've got 6 more of them in your closet, looks exactly the same. That's us being in our pattern without consciousness. And then we end up without direction. We end up without a way forward. So that we're still just repeating the same things over and over again. Maybe you've been in a bad relationship and you're like, next time it's going to be different. Next time I'm moving on to bigger and better. I'm going to win next time. I'm going to come out on top. And then you end up in almost the same exact relationship. That could be an interpersonal relationship. That could be an intimate relationship. That could be a relationship with your family. You have the same argument with your mom all the time, the same way, or the same argument with your spouse. This is the sum zero state. This is the win-lose state where we just throw the hot potato back and forth. Oh, I'm going to blame them. Oh, I'm going to put it over there. Oh, it was their fault. Oh, they're going to toss it at me. It's my fault. It's not anybody's fault. This is a life without consciousness. So when you don't have consciousness, you lack purpose. So it feels like you're not living fully. It feels like you're just waiting for the next break, right? Living for the weekend or living for vacation. But how often have you lived for the weekend and spent the whole weekend comatose on the couch? You worked your butt off all week waiting for the weekend so that you could do nothing. Or you're waiting for it to be just a little bit more perfect. If I just did this more perfect, my life would be better. If my house was better, I would be better. If my outfit was better, I would be better. If my hairstyle was better, I would be better. If my makeup was better, I would be better. Or how often do we get stuck in that endless thought loop? I couldn't sleep last night because my brain would not shut off. Have you said that? That's not your brain. That is the pattern. That's the pattern just spinning because you're not bringing consciousness into your life to move forward and give you purpose. That's you being stuck in the endless loop. I was singing to my clients last week, you spin me right round, baby, right round. That endless record that goes around and around and around and around. without any forward direction. Does that feel like your life? And then you feel like you have no support. Because we're endlessly in this pattern and it feels like we're just waiting for the next disaster to happen. Waiting for the next problem to come into our life. Waiting for that pyramid to come drop over and crush us again today. And again and again. So when we're like this, we always need more. You know, when you're flipped like that, you can never feed your being enough. You could never have enough. You could never have enough money, enough adulation, enough likes, enough views, enough popularity, enough fame, enough fortune. There can never be enough because it's an endless, bottomless pit where you're always looking for the next thing, the next win. Have you ever seen that where you see some, I don't know, famous person and it seems like they have everything, talent and stardom and opportunity, and then you find out, oh my God, they're addicted to a drug. They're addicted to drugs. Or even worse, they've committed because they couldn't hold it up anymore. They couldn't hold up the whole world that was relying on them, that was asking them to give of themselves, that was saying, come do it for me. But here's the thing, they were in the wrong space in their life. They were in that selfish or selfless pattern where maybe people thought, oh, they're a celebrity, they're being so selfish. But in their mind, they're thinking, oh my God, I've got to help myself, my manager, my family, I've got to take care of all these people. They feel like they're in the selfless state. It's the same thing, the sum zero state. And this encourages you to spend your time and energy trying to get better at building disaster fantasy island. Oh, in my next relationship, if I only do this. In my next thing, so that we're constantly building these endless thought patterns in our mind to create a false world, as opposed to learning how to flip our pyramid and be in the conscious state and allow our world to happen. Very, very different. So here's the math. Selfish or selfless, the pattern state, if you win, you're +1. Oh, but when you win, that means somebody else has lost. So that means that they're in the -1 column. You're in +1, they're in -1. Let's do that math. If you sacrifice your -1, that means somebody else, you did for somebody else, they're plus. You sacrificed so that they could win. So what is that math? The +1 and the -1 equals 0. So then you're living in the sum zero state, adding nothing to your world. So there's no gain. Even if you think you're winning, even if you think, oh, I beat that guy, I beat that business person, I have more money than them, I'm winning at this, my kids are better, I'm better than that, I'm prettier than them, I have more than them. Well, if you're thinking that, the actuality of your world is 0. If you only feel good about yourself at the expense of others, you've gained 0. You've not gained a good feeling. Because we're not only responsible for here, we are responsible for our world. So in your world, you've added 0 if you only feel good when you win. Same thing, you've added 0 if you spend your whole life sacrificing for others. Then you have not brought in your +1 state. Now, that does not mean you can't be in a service job, but it means you need to do it from the conscious +1 place. So when we're in this 0 state, a 0 state is a closed system. We've added nothing to it. And science will tell you in a closed system, it's called entropy. Eventually, the system collapses. Does that seem like what's going on in our world right now? We have more natural disasters, we have more wars, we have more hatred, we have more problems, we have more anger, we have more people just randomly shooting people they don't even know. More rage, more violence, more anxiety, more problem. Because we're creating this entropy, this sum zero state. We're not doing the job that we have been put on this earth to do. We're not doing the job. We're in the zero state. We're in the entropy state, and we can see it. Our world is collapsing around us. So when we're in this state, we get frantic. Oh, I've got to do more. I've got to work harder. I've got to be more. I've got to be on today. I've got to help others. I've got to do more. We freak out. We're panicked. This is why anxiety is one of the number one health issues. High blood pressure. We're always panicked. We're always walking around afraid. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is the sum zero entropy. A lack of love and appreciation. Love of yourself first, so that then you could love the world around you. Appreciation of yourself first, so then you can appreciate the world around you. This is a life without consciousness. Now think about your day. How often do you do the same behavior? Like, this woman was so brave to send me this email, to take that honest look at herself and say, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing every day. I'm eating the same foods. I'm driving to work the same day. I'm having the same discussions. I'm doing the same thing. I'm not creating anything. I'm creating worry. I'm creating anxiety. I'm creating fear. And our emotions are not supposed to be above us. They're here in our emotional being. They're supposed to bring us discernment so that we can super customize our own lives, not crush us, not defeat us. This is just your mind's programming. This is just the program that your mind is playing, this pattern. This is a life without consciousness, a life without new creation. This is us saying, oh, okay, as a baby, I learned to walk and run and talk. And then, around 16, I don't have to learn anymore. Or 20, I don't have to learn anymore. Or 22, I don't have to learn anymore. I'm done learning. I'm done bringing my conscious spark into my being and creating. This is the life of the pattern. But this is the amazing thing. This is just the pattern. It's not the foregone conclusion. Remember, you have a choice. You can choose to live a different way. You could choose to get out of the sum zero entropy state. You could choose to stop being at war with the world around you. You could choose to stop being in competition every moment of your day. Competition with others, competition with yourself, competition with your friends, competition with your family, competition with random TV. Oh, I watch that because they're such losers. It makes me feel better about myself. How about you just feel great about yourself and then you spread that? That somebody else does not have to lose in order for you to be enough. And this is the amazing thing. This is true even if your patterns have been happening your whole life. And I have to tell you, especially if your patterns were happening your whole life. This email, this woman has gotten a clear understanding of where she is now. So guess what? Now she's got a clear shot forward. Once we could see, once we could hear, once we could feel that we are in our pattern, then we can move on to becoming a person. One of my private clients sent me a Christmas gift, and she said, "Thank you so much for helping me go from pattern to person." Through our work, she recognized that she was always getting in these same relationships. And I have to tell you, this woman is amazing, beautiful, accomplished. If you met her, you would go, "Oh my God, this girl's got it all." But she wasn't feeling that inside. Inside, she was feeling inadequate. Inside, she was feeling like she had to be more perfect. She felt like she had to be more beautiful. She felt like she had to do more at work, be more professional, be more aggressive, win more things. And it was slowly killing her. Literally, physically killing her. That's what is happening in your life without business. Remember my story. Before I discovered the pyramid of being, I was doing for others. I was completely insecure. I needed that whole big business to prove who I was because my work wasn't enough. I had the belief that I wasn't enough. Now, I've had that belief since the moment I was born. Now, we can understand why I had that belief, but this is the amazing thing. It is my choice to change it. It is my choice to live a different way. Be or not. Back then, I felt like I was always having to hold everything up. Hold up my business, hold up my staff, hold up my clients, help everybody else before me. Waiting for the next thing to fall. Maybe you own a business. And what do they say about small business? You're just going from one fire to the next, putting out fires. Imagine if you could just be in your creative self and bring your work to the world. One of my other clients that I work with, last year she was looking for a job. And when she first started looking, she was just ready to take any job. And we worked very hard. She worked very hard to make a conscious choice on the job that was going to fulfill her creatively, that was going to be able to allow her to be self first and her creative self, which meant that she put limitations on that job. How often have you been like, "Oh, well, I can't say anything because I might get fired"? She went in with all these limitations. I can only have this many meetings. I can only work this many hours. I can only do this much. I need time to be able to do my other projects. She just got her 1-year review. You are the most creative, amazing, perfect, inspirational, fabulous employee we've ever had. Because she's showing up self. She's showing up to do herself first and then allow it to come out to the rest of the world. Not in the zero entropy state where we're just waiting for it to collapse down on us. Before, I was staying in fantasy disaster island. Oh, if just the next client comes in, or the next employee will come in and help me, or the next, I don't know, PR piece will come and help me, or the next. And each time it was going from disaster to disaster to disaster to disaster to disaster until the disasters were too big and I hit rock bottom and I had to let go of the addiction, insecurity. I had to let go of the addiction to insecurity, to feeling bad about myself every day, to feeling negatively about myself every day. Always needing to be, if I could just improve here, I could just improve there. If I was just a little better, a little smarter, a little thinner, a little prettier. Always, I'm not enough. I would say to my husband all the time, "You don't think I'm enough?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do. We're married. I love you." I didn't think I was enough. I was living in the zero state. I was living in the entropy state, where there was a closed system, where I could only win temporarily being selfish or try to be selfless and hold everybody. So let's talk about self first. The self first state is about purpose. Your unique purpose in this. Self first leads to progress for the whole world. For you first, you adding your helping hand, and then for everyone else around you. You first, and then everyone else around you. And we know all the time if I'm winning or if I'm selfish. Because we could see, has my win negatively impacted anybody else? Maybe I won at business. Oh, but a river got polluted. Maybe I won financially. Oh, but I supported a company that, I don't know, supports terrorism. It's not a win. It's a sum zero. This is our world, and we are responsible for our part in it to bring it to that plus place. This is what happens when you're in the self-first place. You experience peace. You experience progress. You experience peace, progress, love. Because you can choose to be in this plus place. So you see how different they are. Selfish and selfless. Remember that pyramid, flopping over, blah. You can never be perfect enough. You can never win enough. You can never give of yourself enough. You're always going to crash. In the self-first place, oh, we have all of this stuff underneath us to support us, to help us to get stronger, better, more, have a stronger foundation, really know who we are, the exalted state, not for a few, for everyone. I'm going to say this again. Can you imagine if for just one day we all were self-first, even for 5 minutes? We'd be adding to our entire life. We'd be contributing to peace on earth. Remember, peace begins with me and then to the world. Self first is a life in synergy with yourself first and then all of creation. And I love, this is so interesting. This happens through the program that we're going to talk about, but I don't know if you noticed that my little security thing popped up. When I was filming, and there's hundreds and thousands of lessons in the Apex Life and Synergy program, every single time I said something really important, my security for my computer would pop up onto the screen. Self first is a life in synergy with yourself, all of creation. How do you know if you're being self first? Well, I don't know. Are you having inner hate speech? Are you clear in your mission? Are you taking your time to know what is right for you? Are you asking tough questions of yourself? Are you being honest, like this woman was, about what is going on in your life? Or are you putting the, see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil, just putting the blinders on, just going forward? It's not living. That's staying in the pattern, waiting to die. That's the life of entropy that eventually crashes. Self first only happens weekly. Excuse me. Excuse me. Apparently, my My consciousness is sneezing through my being. Self first is positive creation that helps you first and then the whole world. So here's the math of self first. Continual addition. Conscious state, you're +1. You're contributing to the world. Oh, well, so loving yourself, you're so excited, you can't wait for others to feel the same thing. Oh, well, then they're in +1. Now you've got 2. I'm sure most of you were too young to remember the Breck commercial, but it's, and you tell 2 friends, and you tell 2 friends, and so on, or the principle of compounding interest. As each of us learns to be in love with ourselves, you inspire the rest of the world around you. Have you ever made a self-first decision to take care of yourself? Maybe you started a new fitness program, or you started a new nutrition program. Maybe you did nutritional alignment. And as you're doing nutritional alignment and getting to be your ideal weight, everybody comes over to you and says, oh my God, what are you doing? Wow, you look so great. Wow, you're such an inspiration. You're an inspiration because you're taking care of yourself first and then allowing that to inspire. So now your world has grown. Now you've enhanced, improved. Now you can gaze down on your creation and love it. You know, I always give people the example of my ring. I love my ring. I got it for my 20th anniversary. I love it. Because I can look down and see it. I can look at all the details on it. But if this ring was on the top of my head, crushing me, like when we're in the selfish or selfless state, forget it. That hurts already. I would take this thing off and throw it in the ocean. I'd hate it. It would not be adding to my life. It would be crushing my life. It would be injuring me, not bringing me joy. So everything has to be in the right place in our life to support us, to help us maintain our conscious +1 state. So the choice is yours, and the choice is always binary, but you must choose to be or not to be. You see the pyramid on the left, where everything is building up, building up, building up. You see the pyramid on the right, where you're trying to balance on that point and crashing down over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So now that you know more about the 2 stages of being, 1 or 0, the choice is always binary. Now we're going to make you aware of your consciousness so that you can experience it in real time, so that you can see that your consciousness is a complete and separate part of you. But first, let's talk about the 3 different parts of your being. We have our body, our mind, and our consciousness. So brain does not mean consciousness. Consciousness is separate from our mind. Our consciousness is the superpower. It's the supercharger. It's the thing that enabled us as babies to go from crawling to walking to running to talking. This was consciousness coming into our being that enabled our mind and our body to learn new things. It is the director of events. Consciousness is the CEO. It's the thing that should be in charge. You know, if you work in the mailroom, you may like the CEO's office, but if you don't have the skill set to run the entire company, you're going to hate that job pretty quickly. It might seem like it comes with all these nice trappings, but if you don't have the skill set to do it, it will not be successful for you. It will crash down around you. consciousness is CEO of your being. So let's talk about all of the parts and why do we have all these different parts? Your body is your feedback tool. So your body has no discretion and it just plays the pattern. I'm going to say that again. Your body cannot make choice. It has no discretion. It just does what the brain tells it to. This is the part of you that you could look down, just like I look down at my ring, that you could see, taste, touch, feel, smell, that you could use your senses to assess what's going on in it. This is the part of us that we could look down and go, oh, do I love this or not? Without judgment. It's just here to give us feedback. It's just here to inform us where we need to apply consciousness. It shows us where we need to focus in our lives to become into a more purely conscious state. All the time, 24/7. And so your body helps you to grow in love and understanding of yourself. Remember when I was telling that story about how I very first began all of this? I very first began all of this because I looked down and no matter what workout I did, how much cardio I did, how much I starved myself, I always hated my thighs. Not dislike, not, oh, they're sort of whatever, oh, I'm going to hide them in clothes. No, hatred. I hated myself. Are you experiencing that? Hate of some part of your body or disappointment in some part of your body? That's your body telling you, oh, you need to focus in this part of your pyramid of consciousness. It's showing us where we need to work. And in our next lesson, we're going to break down how each level of that pyramid completely corresponds to a part of our body, a part of our being, and a system within our being. For me, hatred of my thighs, I was stuck in my activity center. So I was thinking I always just needed to do more. If I worked harder, if I did more, if I ran more, if I ate less, if I worked out more. I used to do these insane workouts, 3 hours at a time, and still did not love it. Maybe you've already experienced SFM. You know, when I first started teaching SFM, I used to get such hate mail. You stupid beat. You can't spot reduce. You can't change what somebody's body looks like. Oh, why? Because they wanted to compete with me. They wanted to put me down to feel better about themselves. They were up there. Where when it came to my body, with SFM, I had learned to apply my consciousness to my body. My consciousness, my superpower, my CEO, my agent of change. And it became the joy of my life. I'd be teaching class, and I'd see somebody that had been in class for a long time and had been learning to really apply their consciousness. And if you came to my old studio, you would see them because they'd be in class most often with their eyes closed, not looking at anybody else, just feeling their body or looking at their body or looking at their form. And then all of a sudden, I'd see them suddenly notice themselves. And that look of happiness and love of themselves, love of their body, love how they looked and how they felt within their being. That's why in SFM, I say, do the muscle, not the exercise. Because we're learning to apply our consciousness, our superpower, into our body, into every single muscle, so that we could bring it into balance. Because when we're not in balance, our body gives us the feedback. It tells us, hey, you know what? Something's wrong in the area of my elbow. because I'm experiencing pain here. This is our body's way of talking back and saying, hey, consciousness, you've got a job to do. Or maybe you have back pain or neck tension. Or maybe you dislike a part of your body. That is your body telling you, hey, consciousness, you've got a job to do. You've got someplace where you need to come in and apply yourself, to gain understanding, to gain communication, so that I can live in my body in the +1 state. So I don't have to worry about aging or disease or problem. They're just showing up to show me me. I told you in that last lesson, I call my doctors, I tell them I am Lee, last egg. I came in with the worst genetics. There is not a piece of me, an organ in my body that has not had some problem. But this has given me the opportunity to apply consciousness. So now I wake up each day, I just get dressed. I'm 55. I love my body. I love my body. And if I see something that I want to work on, oh, great. This gives me an opportunity to pay attention to me. When I'm paying attention to me, I'm saying I matter. When I'm saying I matter to me, I'm broadcasting that out to the rest of the world. Do we feel how that's a completely different? I'm not saying I'm better than. I'm saying I am. I matter. So this is what our body does. It gives us this feedback to say, hey, consciousness, go here. Hey, consciousness, go there. For the rest of our lives. But this is the beautiful thing. That means that every single moment that you do that, you are building your consciousness. When you started taking this class, did you think it was only going to be about meditation? That we were just going to sit there? Now, nothing wrong with that, but it's so limited in scope. Because that is just trying to apply consciousness to your mind. So what is the mind's job? The mind stores and plays the learned patterns. There was this recent article in Nature magazine, which is a science magazine, about the latest research, the brain research. And what they found out recently is that if you are having anxiety and somebody else next to you is having anxiety, the same exact areas in your brain light up. Because your mind is a supercomputer. Your mind just says, oh, anxiety, this is how it goes. Oh, you want to feel anxiety? This is the pattern that we need to. So your mind is just playing the pattern. Your mind is actually middle management. The CEO goes to the president and all the vice presidents and say, this is our mission. And they go down to the workers and say, okay, this is our mission, let's get it done. The CEO doesn't talk to each person individually. If it's a really good CEO, though, she can. She understands each person's job. She sees the big picture, he sees the big picture, and is able to help each one individually, but is the guiding light to the mind. Where the mind, all the vice presidents say, oh, okay, this is how we're going to get this job done. This is how we're going to get this job done. This is how we're going to get this job done. You have all these different sections of our mind. Conscious mind, our parietal mind teaches us all about our senses. This is where we play the patterns of the sights we like to see, the smells we like to see, the tastes we like to see, touch we like to feel. Then we have the occipital part of our mind, and that is our vision and our insight. Shows us the world that we are creating. So that we could see, oh, wait, I need to apply my consciousness, in this aspect of my world. I need to apply my consciousness in this aspect of my world. This is where I need to apply my superpower. Then we have the temporal mind, and this is where we store our memories and our emotions of them. How often do you chew endlessly on a memory? Thinking about it, replaying it, replaying it, replaying it. How long can you chew on a piece of gum? 30 minutes before it becomes disgusting? You have to choose. Am I going to eat this? Spit it out. You have to learn how to be able to make conscious choices within your mind. How often have you said, my mind will not shut off? It's because the mind is trying to be the CEO, and it's not. Your mind is not your consciousness. They are separate. They are two different things. Your mind is your middle management. So it covers the day-to-day function. Your mind covers how you walk and talk and breathe and all of the things that you learned. Your mind stores those things like a computer. But have you ever gotten a spinning disc on your computer? That's what happens when you get that spinning disc in your mind and your mind won't shut off. That's your mind going, I'm trying to solve the problem, but I can't. I'm trying to solve the problem, but I can't. I'm trying to solve the problem, but I can't. I'm trying to solve the problem, but I can't. Because it's not their job. The mind's job is not to problem solve. The mind's job is to run the consciousness into our world. To be that step down from consciousness to mind to play out a new pattern. This brave woman that sent me this email recognized that she was in a negative pattern where she was not creating, where she was not bringing that creative +1 energy into her life every day. She was just playing the endless loop. Amazing! This email, this today probably is the first day of the rest of her conscious life. Because now she can see it. So now she can make a change. So now she can choose to be conscious. Your mind has no discretion. None. It just is playing whatever pattern you've taught it. And it thinks that that pattern is essential for its survival. So it's going to play it to the best of its ability. That's it. That's its job. It does not have choice. It does not have. It needs the consciousness in order to learn. It cannot do it alone. How often have you seen somebody that's like 100 years old and they're spry and they're like, oh, I love to garden every day. I love to do new things every day. Oh, well, they're bringing their consciousness in every single day. So, of course, they're staying sharp because their CEO is showing up to help them every single day, to bring new creativity in their life every single day, to bring new joy, to bring new peace, to bring new contentment. Instead of greed and lies, instead of sacrifice. +1 state, not the 0 entropy. Consciousness, it's our superpower. And I have to tell you, we all have it. There's not anybody that has more of it or less of it. We all have an unlimited supply of consciousness, but we have to activate it. This is what initiates the learning of new skills. When was the last time that you learned a new skill? When you tried something new. I did get some emails from people that said, I love to bake. So I created a new recipe. That's consciousness coming in, creating a new recipe. Created. I have a client who's an artist. She creates new art. I have a client who's a filmmaker. She creates film. I have a client who's a research scientist. She creates new research. So there are things that we are creating. There's sparks where our consciousness comes in. Can you imagine if it was full throttle 24/7? How you would feel? How you would be living in that positive +1 state all of the time? Our consciousness is the only way that we can create change. Remember we talked about the pattern? Are you in the same pattern of the same relationships or the same job, or maybe you went from one job to the next and the same problems show up, or the same negative people show up in your life? Even if it's a new person, but it's the same old behavior, you have to bring your consciousness in to be able to change that situation. Where I worked with one of my clients where she was completely being oppressed by her boss because she was in the pattern putting him above. She was in that selfless pattern where he was more important. Whatever he wanted was more important. Whatever he needed was more important than her. She was sacrificing. And as we worked together, she became self-first state. Just by working on herself. She never even had to say anything to him. She said to me a couple of weeks ago, "Oh my God, Helena, I'm no longer angry all the time." She's no longer angry all the time. Because she learned how to apply her consciousness to herself and solve her problems from within and then allow it to be in her world. So our consciousness is the part of us that leads us into a new direction. That gives us our next thing to learn. That gives us our next opportunity. That remember I said, even if a problem comes in, remember I talked about my lights crashing down? Even when the problem comes in, the problem's and we apply our consciousness to it, then it's going to lead to the next opportunity, to the next great thing, to the next great discovery. You know, it wasn't until I started to apply my consciousness to me 100% every single day, 24/7, coming down to this sacred space so often, applying my consciousness to walking, my consciousness to exercise, my consciousness to eating, my consciousness to my mind, that I was able to discover the entire pyramid of being. This has led me to an even clearer path. On that direct path to enlightenment. Oh, okay, first we're going to do this activity, then we're going to do balance, then we're going to do nourishment, then we're going to do energy. So simple. But I had to apply my consciousness to allow that new creativity to come in, to allow that new inspiration to come in. That has changed my life and then my clients all over the world. That will change your life as well. Because our consciousness directs new action. You know, even the slides that I'm working with today, I worked on them yesterday, and I could feel that I was not in that +1 state. I was just doing it. See what I did? I went to bed. And I worked my return to one, and we're going to talk about what a return to one is, I think in our next lesson. And this morning I woke up, got it. It's all about 1 and 0. Show them the math, Helena. It's all about being in that 0 state, that entropy state, or that +1 state. Got it. Okay. So I woke up, redid my slides this morning, and now I just turned on my system. I'm just talking to you. Sneezes and everything. Remember, we're not looking for a perceived perfection. We're looking for our own perfection. And you know what? Sometimes in your life, you sneeze. Sometimes in your life, you experience discomfort. Is it in the right place? Is it helping you? Is it guiding you along? Are you in the +1 state? Only consciousness can give you a true +1, not a false positive. That's what winning is. It's a false positive. Because if you won somebody else lost, and your world, the world around you, even if it feels like you won right now, has gained 0. You've led the world towards greater entropy, to a closed system. So you've really not won anything at all. Consciousness leads to that +1, where it works for you and it helps everybody else as well. And that changes the world into this positive +1 direction. Does it seem like it's getting scary out there? And you're like, what could I do? I'm telling you what you could do. You can work to be conscious. The added benefit, you're going to love you. Helena, oh no, it seems like too much work to love me. Right? That's what we're saying. If we're like, no, I'd rather win or lose. Thanks, I'd rather sacrifice. And then learn to bring in my superpower. Forget the cape, I don't want it. I don't want to learn how to fly. Thanks anyway. I want to stay being crushed by my pyramid. I prefer that, thank you. This is what a future looks like. A life with growing consciousness. You wake up in peace without the inner hate speech of yourself or others. One of the most amazing things, when I tell my clients, I don't have the inner hate speech anymore. I don't have the negative inner dialogue. They're like, come on. Seriously. I wake up each day and I'll sort of make an assessment of my body. Am I tight anywhere, tense anywhere? And we're going to talk about our responsibility. What am I responsible for in helping? Where do I need to bring my consciousness into my life? Is there something I need to work on that I need to bring my consciousness to, like this class? But I wake up, I go into my dressing room, I change, I look at myself, I look good. And I don't mean that in a, I look better than you. No, I look good to be. Just like I want you to look good to you. I'm in love with me, and that makes me want you to be in love with you. Then there's more love in my world. My clients that experience this huge success, they are bringing consciousness, peace, and joy into my world, wherever they are, in their own little pockets of the world, in their families, in their lives. You love your body. You get dressed based on choice, not on looks. I get dressed based on what colors do I want to wear today. I think about it. Right now, I'm really into these different color eyeshadows. So in our last class, it was like a purpley color, and this is like this gray color. That was my choice. That's what I was thinking about. What color do I want to bring forward? Oh, last time it was like a purpley blue color. This time it's this silvery gray color. That was my choice. I didn't worry about how it was going to look. I didn't worry about what you were going to think about me. I thought about what was going to bring me peace and joy in my life today. What was going to make me happy? How can I customize my life all the time so that it's bringing me joy without having to sacrifice someone else? You love your relationships. They're honest. How often do you tell a white lie? Something. You know what a white lie is also called? A lie. And why is it that the people that are closest to us, we can't be truthful with them? What is that saying? That's saying that we can't be truthful in our own lives. That means that we're not worthy of the truth? What does that mean? That means that I have to tell a lie, so with my lie I'm trying to win, so that means they're going to lose because they're not actually getting the truth. They're not actually getting me. They're getting a false me. They're getting a false positive. How often have your friends said, oh, let's go out for drinks after work, and you really don't want to, but you're worried. You're in that fear state where you're like, well, if I don't go out for a drink with them, maybe they won't like me anymore. So I guess I'm going to. So it's a false positive. Yeah, I'll go. Yay. And then the whole time you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. This is exhausting. I don't actually want to be doing this. But we're so afraid because we're living in fantasy disaster island that they're going to disappear that we do the false positive, that win positive. Oh, yay, I can't wait to go. I know it. I used to do it all the time. Put on the smile. Let's get on. I'm going to be on today. But it was slowly sacrificing myself. I felt like I was just having the life out of me. I felt like I was so burnt out. Until my body, my feedback tool was like, hey, you've not listened before. You didn't listen when you had a hole in your heart, that you were putting people before you. You didn't listen when you had migraines. You didn't listen when you had stomach problems. I know, we're going to try cancer. Are you going to listen now? And it wasn't until, like any addict, the selfless addict, it wasn't until I hit rock bottom that I said, oh, I'm living selfless. I'm saying be the spark, but I'm not being my spark. I'm trying to light everybody else's flame constantly and keep their flames lit up instead of taking care of myself. And then having the faith to allow that to then inspire others. Your relationships are supportive. How often does it feel like you get on the phone with your mom and she knocks you down? Or your friends say the same negative stuff to you? Or you say the same negative stuff to you? I can't tell you how many years I looked down and went, oh, you're the bane of my existence, when I looked at my own body. Are you doing that? Instead of, oh my God, I love you so much. Thank you so much. Let's go for a walk. I love going for a walk every day. You love your work. You know, I've always loved my job because it's helped me to make all of these discoveries. And I love being a scientist at heart. I love discovery. I love new creation. But I have to tell you honestly, literally my husband wakes up and he says almost, I don't know, a couple times a week, he goes, you cannot be this happy. I am. Because I get to do this amazing work. I get to be with amazing people. I get to spread joy, knowledge, peace, understanding, consciousness. And then I get to see those people show it to me. Oh, Helena, I went to a family gathering and you know what? I applied my consciousness, I did my return to one, and the whole situation was different. Oh, Helena, I went to my job and instead of me being in my old pattern, I applied my consciousness and now my whole work life is different. Well, guess what? That's that little drop of peace, that little drop of love, that little drop of understanding. Started because I was willing to say, hey, you know what? I know all this stuff, but still I've got more work to do. Just like this woman that sent me the email. I recognized my pattern. And then I made choice. I made the conscious choice to stay in consciousness. So that I'm continually learning and appreciating myself more and more and more each day. You're amazed because you're amazing. I want to see your amazing self. You want to see your amazing self. Your family wants to see your amazing self. Not the self that's in competition. Not the hot potato. It's their fault. It's my fault. I'll do for them. They do for me. No. The +1, where we're continually adding to ourselves, to our world, making this a +1 conscious world, not a sum zero state entropy world ready to collapse. This is how you can contribute to our world every single moment of every single day. You're in love with you, and this allows you to be in love with the rest of the world. I have to tell you, one of the joys of my life now is going and just meeting random people and having great conversation. because I'm coming to them from just this +1 conscious state, people know that they could tell me anything. My clients know that they could tell me anything. They know that they're not going to get any judgment here. We're just going to look and see where we need to apply consciousness. It gives them so much freedom. It gives them the capability to be exactly where they are now, to be in their truth. Even when their truth is not so awesome. Great, just like this woman. Her truth's not so awesome today, but it's her truth. Super. Now we know where we need to apply our consciousness. And so it sets you up on this great journey so that every day in your life you're going to wake up in love with you. So that you have this extensive set of tools, so that you understand what each part of your body is telling you. We're going to go through that in detail next time. So that you could see, oh, if my back is hurting, what might this mean? Oh, if my legs are hurting, what might this mean? What does it mean physically? What does it mean mentally? What does it mean emotionally? And then I just need to apply my consciousness to understanding it. I need to apply my consciousness to creating the change that I seek in my life. So this is what we're going to do. After this class, I'm going to send you this in an audio file. But I want you to do this conscious awareness. So you're going to stand in front of a mirror. And you're going to carefully observe your body. So we're going to use our senses, our sense of sight, so both in our parietal and occipital center, to look at ourselves in the mirror. And I want you to look at yourself, and I want you to note any anomalies. So the neutral state is with the palms open, the elbows are able to straighten, the shoulders are open, they are even across, with a lot of space between your shoulders and your ears, right? Are you here or are you here? Are your toes turned out? Most people are walking with their toes turned out or living with their toes turned out. Is one shoulder higher than the other? Are your shoulders rounded forward? Is your spine erect? Or do you have a big arch in your lower back? Or do you lean forward in your upper back? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to look at all of those things and then adjust your body in real time so that you drop your shoulders or open them out or turn your toes forward. Pull your belly button in if you've got too much of an arch in your back. Look at as many details as you can. And I have to tell you honestly, sometimes we are so stuck in our pattern, we cannot even see these anomalies. Sometimes it helps to bring a friend along. A friend that you know that's going to love and support you and say, what do you see that's going on in my body? So once you see all these things, I want you to adjust everything and then close your eyes. And then you are going to see the difference between your mind and your consciousness. Because the minute you close your eyes, let me give you an example. Say your toes are turned out like this. So you see that in the mirror and you turn your toes to face forward. So you could see that your toes are facing forward. The minute you close your eyes, your brain is going to tell you your toes are now like that. I'm going to say that again. If you look down and you normally stand with your toes turned out, and you make the conscious choice to create change and turn your toes forward, and then you close your eyes so that your conscious mind isn't there and it's just your mind is going to tell you, hey, you know what? You're standing wrong. You're standing with your toes turned in. Or maybe if you stand like this and you straighten up your shoulders, when you close your eyes, your brain's going to think you're way back here. And it'll show you your brain does not know. Your consciousness knows. Your brain is just playing out a pattern that we've taught it. Now, who knows where the pattern came from? Maybe your shoulders are rounded forward because you're on your phone too much, or maybe your toes turned out because you used to take dance class, or maybe your toes turned out because you sit too much and your hip flexors are tight. We don't care why. We're not going to judge the whys. We're just going to see where we need to apply our consciousness to change the pattern in our mind and change the pattern in our body and change the pattern in our life. To go from that entropy pattern where it eventually collapses, right? Maybe if your shoulders are rounded forward, maybe it starts with your shoulders are rounded forward, but maybe then you injure your rotator cuff, which then maybe leads to a series of injuries, which maybe then leads to chronic pain. All because we weren't conscious to go, oh wait, nope, I'm supposed to be here. And be willing to then do that again. And do that again. And do that again. Watch that baby go from crawling to walking to running. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 7 easy lessons. You are complicated and interesting. This gives you the opportunity to focus your consciousness on the most important person in your life, you. To create the most loving relationship in your life, the one that you have with you. Because as you create these loving relationships with yourself, then you could truly love others. Then you could truly bring in the right relationships, the right job, the right living situations, the right circumstances. Because they'll be coming from this conscious +1. Not a negative positive, the true +1. Remember, winning is a false positive. Because you won, somebody else lost, it's zero, it's entropy. The +1 state is the state of creation, state of consciousness. See that when you close your eyes, your mind now thinks you're misaligned. Your mind thinks that the conscious correct choice is incorrect because it's playing the pattern. We get to teach it a new pattern. We have this amazing opportunity to bring consciousness into our life with every step we take, with every thought we have, with every decision we make. To change our world from this zero entropy world to the +1 conscious state. For ourselves first, and then the world around. Okay, so after this, I'm going to send you another email with just the mirror exercise done in audio so you could listen to it as you do your exercise. And then maybe send me another email. Either send me your email from the first one, send me your creation homework. Helena at Life and Synergy. Or send me what are some of the things you notice where you're not in a conscious state, where you're running a pattern that is not the true, straightforward, purposeful life in synergy. Okay, so in our next lesson, which is going to happen next Wednesday, we're going to talk about where you need to pay attention for your maximum benefit. How to really get this so that you're moving along at a quick pace and short-circuiting the path to enlightenment and consciousness. We are going to explore each layer of the pyramid of being and discover how each layer directly maps to your body, your mind, and your consciousness. And find out how you can use this as a guide map to create your +1 conscious life. Okay, that's it for now. I will see you next week. Thank you for joining me, and I'm wishing you a self-first +1 day. Bye for now.